you. Thank you, Sarah. Good morning. How are you? I know you have been waiting, and so thank you for patiently waiting. I want to get started with applauding you. You have taken the first step in transformation. It's about making a decision, isn't it? Yes. It's about really taking time to think about where I am in my life, what I want to experience, and then making that first step, that first decision to say, I'm going to do something about it. And so I want to applaud you, but I wonder if you also want to applaud your partner, the person next to you, the person behind you, for taking this first step and beginning the process. Many people have not made it to this point. They have not been in this seat. And so you've already had that first step. And so this morning, we're going to talk about our bodies. We're going to talk about the interdisciplinary idea of the body and the mind. So our body is a vessel. It's a vessel. It's a container, a transport of feelings, emotions, chemicals, experiences, memories, our spirit. And so what we place in it really comprises who we are. And so because our body and our mind is one being, it's interconnected. It's multidisciplinary, like I said. It's multidimensional. It's complex, and it's a wonderful creation. But many of us have lived disconnected. We have lived compartmentalized. We have lived in a way that is not integrated. And many of our experiences that we have in life, through our development, through our relationships, through the things that we experience in our life, create this disconnection with our body and our mind. And so hopefully today what we will do is learn about a few things that will help us to get a clearer understanding of what optimum mental fitness actually is. And so, like we said, our body is a vessel. And the learning objectives today, and hopefully we'll have time to get through all of them, is to explore our body narrative. What does that mean? Hopefully we'll talk a little bit about that. Secondly, we are going to talk about the weight of shame. Shame is actually weight. It can manifest as weight on our bodies. The anatomy of change, our thought life, and then the tools for optimum mental health. Hopefully we also have some time for questions. So what we know about the body, again, is that it's interconnected. Do you know when you exercise, there are neurochemicals in your body that go in influx and help us to feel better, to feel happier, to change our outlook? Did you know that? Yes. Did you know that when you get a good dose of oxygen, and we're going to do that today, it goes to the front of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, and it activates that part of your brain that's associated with rationalizing, with insight, with empathy. And it disconnects a part of your brain called the amygdala, which is associated with responding or reacting or fear. These emotions that often are not connected to being rational, right? When we're in an argument, we can't really think straight, right? And so taking in a physical manifestation, that oxygen changes the way that we experience our brain and actually experience a relationship. And so our body, again, is interconnected, and it's something that we need to learn about and become aware so that we can transform what we experience. And so what is our body narrative? Our body narrative is really the story that we tell ourselves, the experience that we've had throughout development about our bodies. It constructs our relationship to our own body, and it also constructs our feelings about our body. And so the first thing I want us to do this morning is, before we jump into the narrative, I really want us to open our brain up so that we can receive that insight and that those rational thoughts that are going to help us to create empathy for ourselves and our neighbor and hopefully experience some change, okay? So I want us to close our eyes. And you're going to just relax your body. What does that mean? You're going to drop your shoulders. You're going to relax your arms. You're going to put your feet right in front of you and just plant them on the floor, feeling the earth, making sure you feel steady, and just take note of your breathing. As you take oxygen in, your stomach expands. You experience the prefrontal cortex is expanding and opening. If there are any fears about this week, any concerns about this week, any blocks about your ability to change, to transform your body, I want you to think about inhaling courage and exhaling any of that fear. Take in as much oxygen as you can. You're going to hold it, and you're going to exhale. You may feel a little tingle in the front of your head. Really, that's kind of just changing the atmosphere in your brain. And you're experiencing a different reality. Taking a few more deep breaths. I'm going to take in one more and exhale all of the fear, any of the blocks, anything that you feel about your experience this week. And go ahead and open your eyes. Did anyone feel any change? Did you feel a change?
I felt a desire to yawn from my toes.
A desire to yawn from your toes. Yeah. Is that being sleepy, or is that maybe feeling a little relaxed?
I think it was a lack of oxygen. I
Yeah.
think that it was shallower breathing for too long.
Okay, a lack of oxygen, shallow breathing for too long, maybe, and then your body's experiencing kind of this high, maybe this influx of oxygen. Mm-hmm. Yeah? Okay. And so as we think about our bodies, right, and we think about how our mind is connected to our bodies, what we know about our bodies gives us insight into how we relate to it, how we treat it, what we do with it, what we let other people do with it, right? And so I want you to look at the first exercise here. And it talks about what is the story or what is the narrative that you've taught yourself about your body? Is it my body is not athletic? Is it I don't like this aspect of my body? Or I don't like my body in general? I want you to take a good picture, not only of this week, but in the past 20 years, and even beyond that. And write down what is the story that I have said to myself about my body, about its capacity, about how I feel about it. And write that down. And then what did I learn about my body growing up? An example could be my body is a source of rejection. It could be I was teased a lot about my body. I was teased about my weight. I was teased about my skin color. I was teased about how I look. I was teased about this vessel that I carry. What did you learn about your body growing up? I know for me that I learned right? And this is kind of societal, but then also pathological, like family. I learned to discredit my body, and I learned that I'm never going to be enough within my body, right? And that could have been something that was passed down through generations, right? Oh, this is too big, this is too small, I don't like this about myself. Oh, if I could be this, oh, if I could be her, right? And so write down, what did I learn about my body growing up? And lastly, are there things that have made me disconnect from my body? I had a client that was an athlete growing up, and she lived in a family where mom and dad were in the home, dad worked a lot, she yearned for his love, and she found out that her being an athlete was her connection with her dad. He was very excited about her athletics, very excited about her track and field, so he would be very much connected with her, associated with the athletics, which fueled her idea that my body is a source of love. My body is a source of connection, and so I must perfect my body. And as a result of her doing that, she abandoned her own body and fell into an eating disorder where she tried to perfect her body so much because it was a source of love for her with her father. She disassociated with her own body and the needs that it had and the care of it because it was sacrificed for some other thing that she needed. What is the thing for you that may have made you disconnect from your own body? It could be that, it could be weight gain, it could be family, right? I sacrifice my body because I got to take care of my kids, I got to take care of my grandkids, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. And so I put myself last. I sacrifice my own body, my care of it, my relationship to it. I disconnect from that so that I can care for other people. What is the message that we learn about our body as a result of that? It doesn't matter as much as other people, right? Not handling challenges, right? And I wonder if there's someone that is brave enough to help us maybe visualize this in some way by giving a one of the questions that you answered. Yes.
When I was growing up, I was really skinny.
Yeah.
Really skinny.
Uh-huh.
And my brothers and sisters teased me and called me lighthouse. And I recall asking my mom to allow me. When I was real skinny, when I was growing up, I was very, very skinny.
Mm.
And my brothers and sisters used to tease me and call me lighthouse.
Yeah.
And one day, I finally asked my mom if I can have some allowance. So she gave me some money, and I went to the drugstore, and I bought this stuff to get me fat. I bought this liquid, and I was hiding it in my closet, and I was taking it because I wanted to put on weight,
Yeah.
because I didn't like how skinny I was.
Yeah.
But now I've got a big stomach, and I wish that I can go back small.
Right, but in some way, you learned that my body is a source of rejection. And so what do I do with it? I have to measure up. I have to work towards something. My body is actually working for me to get this developmental or this emotional need that I have now. It's not something I connect with and listen to and respond to and care for. It's something that I use as a survival technique, right? And so these things are really, really important when you're thinking about transforming and change. You have to think about, what is the narrative that I have about my body? Do I believe in my own ability to change it? Is it last on the list? Is my care last on the list? Have I learned that about myself? Can we just clap for this young lady for supporting us and really, it takes a lot. It takes a lot to really look at ourselves and to be able to share that. So I'm thank you for that, and thank you for being with us in that way. And so next, shame. Shame is weight. Oftentimes, as we're growing up, we have these body narratives, and they give us some measure of shame. We carry this, and shame is not like guilt, right? Guilt tells us something I've done is wrong, right? I did something wrong. Shame tells us I am wrong. It's an identity. It's something about me that fundamentally is broken and flawed. And because I believe I'm fundamentally broken and flawed, what do I believe about my ability to change?
You're fundamentally broken.
I'm fundamentally broken and flawed. This is something that maybe I don't have the capacity to do. My brain is actually even telling me that because of what I believe about me, because of what I believe about my body, because of what I believe about my own ability to have fitness and be healthy and to live and thrive. Because of those things, it manifests as weight. It can manifest as negative thoughts about ourselves. It can manifest as discouragement about our own capacity, like I talked about, to change. It can manifest as embarrassment about our health and where we are and where we feel like we should be. And so self-blame, this depreciative thinking about who I am, really does hinder our ability to change. And so for you, I want you to think about, that's the next thing here. I want you to think about and write down, what are some of the I am statements that you have that might be associated with shame? I am, and you put in the blank. I don't want to tell you, but what is it you say about yourself? One study that I read talked about self-compassion and how self-compassion has the ability versus being self-critical, self-blaming, and self-hatred. Self-compassion has the ability to improve our ability to manage our weight, to improve our physical health, to avoid disease. Shame doesn't allow us to have self-compassion, does it? It often blocks our self-acceptance, and our self-acceptance is connected to overall living, our wellness. And so what are the I am statements? Yes.
I think I'm too critical of others.
Say that one more time.
Too critical of others.
Too critical of others. I am too critical.
I can be judgmental.
Okay.
But I'm the nicest person.
I am judgmental. I am critical. And even changing that into, right, that's something that you may do. But I wonder if changing that into I am a critic.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it can be a good thing, right? If you're helping someone, right? But I am a critic turned inward can be self-hatred, right?
I wish I could keep my mouth shut sometimes.
I think we all do. She said, I wish I could keep my mouth shut sometimes. I think we all do, right? And so I am what I think about myself. I'm a critic. I'm a judge, right? Changes my capacity to see what I can do as a critic. Can a critic be? Can a critic practice self-compassion? I'm sure they can, but it's hard to visualize that, right? It's hard to visualize that. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And so I really want you to think about these I am statements. And in this week, how can I change these self-statements? How can I relinquish some of this shame that I've carried with myself about who I am, about what I can do? Some of the self-statements go a little bit deeper, and they're sometimes unconscious, so we can't get a hold of them sometimes, right? It could be, I am not good enough. I might have learned that growing up. I'm not good enough. No matter what I do, I cannot be good enough. I'm unwanted. Nobody wants me. Nobody wants to be with me. Nobody wants to be my friend. Nobody wants to have fellowship with me. I am unlovable. These are self-statements. These are things that sometimes are buried within us that prevent us from being able to see ourselves as powerful, as capable, as having the capacity to really create the life that we like, the life that we want. So this week, how can I change how I envision who I am? How can I change these self-statements? I want you to write down underneath, there's no line for that, but I want you to write underneath there how you might be able to do that this week. What is something else about yourself that is true? I am loved. That's true, right? I am worthy. I am worthy to change my body, to change my mind, to change my health. I am worthy of these things. I deserve this. Okay, so what I want us to do next is I want everyone to stand up. We're going to talk and move into, we've talked about a little bit about our emotions. We've talked a little bit about our development and how that improves our emotions or changes our emotions growing up. And now I want to talk about the anatomy of change. And so I want us to really kind of roll our shoulders back. We're going to experience a change in our bodies, right? Anatomy of change in our mind really begins and sometimes is facilitated by a change in our body. So I'm going to roll my shoulders back. I'm going to roll my shoulders forward. I'm going to open up my chest and go as wide as I possibly can. Often people carry anxiety, stress, and worry right here in their neck. If I'm sitting in a session, I can see someone crunched down because worry is there's the epicenter of worry here in our brain and inside our system, adrenal system. And so open up your chest and experience what it feels like to kind of just be liberated in our muscles and in our mind, and bring those arms in and wrap them around your body. Give yourself a hug. Feel that stretch in the back. And if you're able to, where possible, I want you to kind of bend down a little bit, and I want you to kind of stretch out your back and the back of your legs. Many people carry stress and worry also in their lower back. People that have lower back pain also are people that talk about having great deal of anxiety and depression. Stretching out your back, coming back forward, and if you can, stretch back just a little bit. Stretching out your back that way. Okay, and last thing I want us to do again is we're going to take in some air. We're going to take in some more oxygen, right? Breathing in through our nose, expanding our bellies, taking in as much air as possible, holding it and blowing it out. Breathing in again. And breathe out. Okay, go ahead and have a seat. Somebody tell me, do you believe that people can change? Someone raise your hand and tell me why you think, or how do you think people can change? Yes.
I think people can change once they have information.
Okay.
They understand
Okay.
that information.
Okay.
And if they're willing, then they can change.
So when people have information and they are willing to change,
They understand
they
it,
understand it,
and they're willing to
and they're
make a
willing to change. Do we agree? Yes? Somebody else.
When they have friends to support them,
Okay.
or if no friends, then help from a psychologist.
Okay.
I think that sometimes we really need help and we really need to ask for it.
Okay.
And we really need to trust that it will come, and trust for many of us is the hardest.
Okay. Yes. Somebody else.
People change with experiences as well as age. And I think those two work hand in hand. I've seen some people who used to be a little feisty, and
Yeah.
now they simmered down
Yeah.
because of life experiences. And I guess the wisdom was a positive encouragement to them.
Yeah. It's great. You had one too, right here.
Accept and identify the changes that you have procrastinated with, for years.
Yeah. Accept and identify. Maybe we can get some from this side. How many people were feisty when they were young, kind of simmered down, as she said? I know I did. Yes. In the back?
Okay, I think people change when they feel a need, when they feel pressed to the wall about something.
Okay.
That forces them to change, whether it's a leak in the roof. Once it becomes a
Yeah.
spattering on your bed, then you know you have to fix it. Otherwise, sometimes people leave it like it is.
Yeah.
Or if they're too heavy to walk, they say, this is a crisis. I must change.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Okay. Okay. So there are many ways that we can go about changing. Many people, even science has taught us historically that we really don't change too much over time. That's what we learned about our brains and our bodies. We really don't change too much. We change a little bit, but it's on a small continuum. We don't change too much. New science tells us that we have the capacity to change. Why is that? There are things in our brain that we thought were fixed, but are actually more flexible, right? How many people have heard of neuroplasticity, right? We can teach someone new things. And how do we do that? Two ways are the predominant ways that we change. Number one, awareness. If you don't know, how are you going to change it? Many of us really do block our awareness. Sometimes in relationships, somebody wants to tell you about yourself and you don't want to hear it, right? You blame, you dodge, you avoid, right? You become defensive, right? Or we have an emotional issue and it's like, oh no, I'm not going to talk to anybody about that. I don't want to deal with that. I just want to keep going, right? I hear that very often, right? If I just keep going, it's going to get better. That's a really fundamental belief that people have. But awareness really does unlock change. Number two, corrective experiences. What we learn is that through experiencing different, we do different. If we don't experience different, it's really, really hard to do different. Our brain has a hard time conceptualizing how to operate in a different way without it simulating it at least a few times, right? And so what we think, what we believe, impacts our emotions. It makes us feel a way, right? And when we feel a way, we do something, right? If I believe that she said this to me to make me angry, She said this to me on purpose. I know she did. I know she said it to me on purpose. That's going to make me feel angry, right? That's going to make me feel frustrated. When I feel frustrated, I do a couple things, right? Many of us do different things. Sometimes we shut down. I'm not going to talk to her. I'm not going to do anything with her. I'm not going to be in her presence. Some of us actually pursue, right? And now, oh no, I want to go talk to her. I want to tell her these things, right? So what we thought about the scenario impacted what we felt, our emotions that came up, even the chemicals in our body, and that impacted what we did. So when we change what we think, when we change our beliefs about something, why did I start with all that stuff, the self-statements, and what do I feel about myself, and how do I think about my own body, right? Because that's really what is the beginning of the process. If I think I'm flawed, I feel helpless, and what do? And what do? I give up. It's a pattern. What are some of the thoughts that you have about yourself that have locked you into the pattern for health that you experience? I don't have time. Is that one? Yeah? Am I by myself when I think about that? I'm too busy. Yeah, I'm too busy, right? I don't want to do, I'm not worth it. I'm not worth it. I tried that before and I failed. It's not going to work. It's so hard. It is so difficult. I don't think I can overcome how hard it is. These are good things. How does that make me feel? If it's hard, what does that make me feel? It makes me feel what? Powerless. It makes me feel inadequate. These are good ones. It makes me feel what? Hopeless, right? And when I'm hopeless, when I feel inadequate, when I don't think I have the capacity to do this, what do? Nothing. I give up. I do nothing. I avoid it. Maybe I don't. Maybe I pursue it harder. And I try to be so perfect at it that I get overwhelmed, right? I have to work out 15 times a week or 0, right? we think that. Sometimes we overthink it. Or I have to be completely vegan now. No? Am I by myself? Right? Some people think that. We go so hard that we get overwhelmed. We feel overwhelmed, and then those self-statements are really kind of underneath, and they really do kind of keep that idea up there. It's like, oh, you really can't do it. It's never really worked for you. Let's be honest. Nobody in your family's done it. It's really not going to happen, right? Some of those the undercurrent of those beliefs, keep that in lock, right? And so we change our thoughts, we change our beliefs. What does that do? It changes what's next? It changes our actions. Why do I feel bad all the time? People sometimes ask me that. Well, what are you thinking? Oh, my life is terrible. Nobody loves me. I'm bored. I wish I could retire. I wish I had more money. My life is just, what am I thinking about? What are these thoughts that I'm having? Maybe that's why I feel bad. My emotions are connected, very much connected to that. I experience stress hormones in my body, an influx of stress hormones when I think things are really, really difficult. Because my body responds and says, I have to give you all of these emotions and chemicals, hormones and chemicals, in order to deal with something that's super stressful. So if I thought about it differently, what if it's not hard? What if I can do it? What if I took one step at a time? Yes?
Sometimes there's a sense of danger.
Sense of danger, yes.
If I actually do accomplish this, oh, hello.
Yeah.
For instance, someone who was raped as a child,
Yeah.
who puts on weight to protect against
Yeah.
a further rape,
Yeah.
to protect against being attractive,
Yes.
to
Yes.
fend off any
Yes.
further rape.
Yes.
So there's a danger in losing weight.
Yes, there is. Such a good visualization of that pattern and that channel that we're talking about, right? Like I talked about the young girl that developed an eating disorder, right? And another way, it could be the other way, right? And a way of protecting myself, right? Something that I experienced in my life made me disassociate with my body and my capacity to control it and have power over it. Something made me feel powerless in my body.
Or I wanted to put on the weight
Yeah,
to protect.
correct. Oftentimes, she said, I wanted to put on the weight to correct, maybe, to protect, excuse me. And that could be true. A lot of that, again, is unconscious. We don't think about it, right? We just kind of go through life and maybe it happens, right? And some of these thoughts layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. But the undercurrent of that is this really complex dynamic of I'm actually trying to protect myself in many ways. I'm surviving. Yes, I'm surviving in many ways. Very much so. And so how do we begin to change that? How do we begin to change those thoughts and beliefs we have about ourselves? Am I broken beyond repair? No. Do some of us believe that? We may not admit it. Some people do, right? Or at times. This is very true. At times we can believe that, right? And so changing what we believe about things really comes in challenging long-held beliefs, right? Some people have beliefs that, there's one that I heard recently, if you know better, you do better. Is that true?
No, you can choose to do better.
A lot of us really believe that, right? We've heard it so many times. If you know better, you do better. It can be true, but there's something in the middle of that, right? I was talking to a client this week, and she said that to me, I know better. I have all of the information. I know what I should be doing. I have help to do it. It's right in front of me, but I choose to not do it. Is that not a strong-held belief? If I believe that I have the capacity to do it, I have all of the resources, and I'm choosing not to do it, what does that make me feel about myself? Bad. And what we teased out within that hour was maybe you have the information, you have all the ingredients, right? But you may not know how to be different, to experience different, to have tolerance with the ambiguity of your life, to sit with your emotions and understand what they feel like, to be vulnerable, right? What does that feel like? I avoid it. I don't know. So maybe I don't know how to do this. I don't know. I don't have the, I'm still learning how to settle down into the how of doing differently. And so just because you know better doesn't mean you automatically have the capacity and will do better. Learning how to be better is really understanding a lot about yourself and a lot about being, embodying something versus just putting in ingredients and mixing it together, right? Are you still with me? Yeah. And so the thought, is this really true? Ask yourself that. Is this really true? Is the gym too far for me to go to? Is it really true? Is it? It's too expensive over the year. I don't want to. Is it really? Can I cut back on the Starbucks? Can I change the way that I'm eating out? Can I? Right? I'm too tired to cook after work. Is that true? Is it really true? Because then your girlfriend calls and you can talk to her for 2 hours. Are you really tired? So challenging these beliefs. Is it really true? Right? I just can't do this. Is this really true? Maybe it's not. Maybe the things that you've believed for years is just not true. And if it's not true, maybe I can feel different. Maybe I can feel empowered. Maybe I can have the capacity in my brain to really change that atmosphere and change my experience and change what I do. Yes? So how do we do that? Oftentimes we do that through experiencing, doing okay on time, by slowing down. How many people are just busy? I'm just busy. I got a lot going on. I've got like kids, I've got work, I've got my volunteer stuff, I've got church, I've got people expecting I've got my girlfriends, I've got my guy friends, I've got I got my spouse, I have a lot to do. I'm so busy. Yeah? I'm so busy. Too busy for me. Yeah. And so we give out many of the things that are kind of like half. That's another word for that. We don't show up with our full capacity because we really don't have our full capacity. We haven't taken time to restore our full capacity, to see about our full capacity, to see what it even feels like to operate in our full capacity. And so I'm busy and I'm there for all these people, but I'm really not there really well, right? That's true. I'm not there. I'm not showing up really well, right? So how do we slow down? A part of changing is to assess, right? To evaluate. How can I practice mindfulness? Mindfulness means sometimes it feels like your brain is screaming when you do it. I practiced this the other day. I sat down and I ate my food without my cell phone. And I looked at the food, and I smelled the food, and I looked at the presentation. It looked pretty good. And I ate it, and I felt what it felt like in my mouth and it tastes like. And I chewed it 22 times. Yeah, I'm too busy for 22 times, right? And then I swallowed it, and I did it again. I actually felt the texture of what it felt like to be alive and to experience my life. Not just to float through it, right? In this automatic way. We gotta do the food, I gotta do this, and then I gotta do this next, and I'm not. How do we slow down our thoughts? How do we slow down our experiences? We do that by systematically, intentionally taking time to do things. Taking less off the schedule. It sounds like a foreign concept. You're looking at me like I'm crazy. Right? Taking things off the schedule, right? Doing one thing at a time. These things are foreign to us right now. This idea that I would do one thing at a time, who does that? Right? When we slow down what we're doing and we attend to it and we actually are conscious with it, we use the part of our brain that develops insight, creativity, helps us to experience things differently. We have more empathy for ourselves, more compassion for ourselves. We feel the texture of what it feels like to be a being, right? And as a result of that, we experience different emotions. And we evaluate our life in a different way. Usually people that have experienced all these things that I'm telling you about don't usually say that their life is not good. They usually don't. Because they're actually present in their life. And they're doing things that they want to do and they love to do. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay. Okay, so what are our tools? Bringing it all together, what are our tools? So how do we have this optimum mental fitness? Optimum just basically means the best, ideal, right? Best case scenario. There is no barometer for that. It's not like I can say, this is what you need to do, A, B, C, and you will be and experience things differently and have better mental fitness and feel happier and experience your life in a new way. I can't say that to you. Optimum is awareness of your own self, your own being. Some people need more sleep. Some people need less sleep. Some people need more compassion because of things that they've experienced in their life. Some people don't need as much compassion, but they need some, right? And so knowing yourself is the number one thing that I want you to take away from today. What is my body narrative? What do I tell myself about my body? Am I ashamed of myself? Do I wear clothes that operate in shame? Do I not do things as a result of the fact that I am ashamed of something? Right? And so how do I do differently? How can I move into not being ashamed? How do I move into and experience things like, no, I am going to go to the gym and I am going to work out in this group of people, even though I don't know what I'm doing. I feel inadequate. I feel like I'm going to stand out. No. How do I do something different so I can experience different? I don't want to be ashamed, so I need to experience something different and do something different. Okay? So each one of you is going to have your own plan. It's going to be something that is based on your own body narrative, based on your own issues with shame, if that's something that you experience, based on what you sense is the change you need to experience in your life and how you think about things and how you believe and what needs to change about that. So take an inventory of all these things. Learn about your strengths. Learn about the things that you're actually good at. I'm actually faster than I thought I was. And operate in that. I actually can lift a lot of weight. That's a strength. That's something that your body can do. That's something that your mind can do. Learn about your strengths. Take note of those things. Check your wellness often. I'm going to tell you how to do that at the end of this. Check your wellness often. How am I doing? All of these things I'm using 24 hours in a day. How's it going? Is it going well? Is it not going well? I don't know. Think about it. Talk to a professional. There's supposed to be an L there. Talk to a professional. Sometimes to take inventory and to change these beliefs that you have about yourself and this narrative that you have about yourself or the shame that you experience, you need to talk to someone to really work through what that feels like and to experience change. You need someone outside of yourself. Pursue corrective experiences. So again, we've learned that even in relationships, when people experience abusive relationships, when they find themselves in a positive relationship that gives them love without condition, that is a trusting relationship, something that they can rely on, it changes their capacity in their brain for intimacy. They can actually do it again without having all these fear responses that other people may experience. Does that make sense? Yeah. Right? And so, corrective experiences, being a part of a workout team may correct some of the things that you're experiencing about yourself. Getting a nutritionalist, right? Someone that you can talk to about what your diet looks like and how you can improve that. Or being a part of a meetup group that does that, right? New experiences bring new thoughts, okay? So positive relationships, self-affirmations, what am I saying to myself? Again, hopefully you wrote down a new I am statement today that would help you throughout this week and then beyond. Practice living differently. Take time to do things. Let your mind settle into things. Slow your process down so that you can evaluate it. And then again, practice mindfulness. It means living in the present. It's so hard for some people, right? We're always planning something else. But are we experiencing what's in front of us? Setting personal goals and be integrated. Don't just take care of your physical health. Your mental health improves your physical health. Your physical health improves your mental health. Okay? So lastly, I want you to, as we're closing, I want us to do exercise 4, and that is 4 corners. Basically what that means is this is the wellness check that you can do for yourself. It should be at the bottom of your page. you're going to evaluate these 4 aspects of your life: spiritual, mental, physical, emotional. How's it going? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, the best that it could be, 1 being the lowest. How is my spiritual life? How do I feel like that? And being honest about that. Where do I feel like I am right now? Do I like how things are going? Do I feel connected to God? Do I feel that things are going well in that area? Physically, how am I doing? Mentally, how am I doing? Am I stimulating my thoughts? Am I reading often? Am I a part of things that is expanding my awareness and sensing how I can be in the world differently? How's that going? And then emotionally, how are my relationships? How do I feel about myself? Am I happy? Am I content? Do I feel depressed? Right? 1 to 10. And then I want you to write down underneath the evaluation, I want you to write down some things that you can do to improve those areas. So on mine, I had, at one point, I said I wanted to read a book every 3 months for my mental health. I don't know if I've stuck to that, but I put that down because I want to learn more. I want to be able to expand my knowledge of things. To expand my mental health, experience more humor. Go to a comedy show, watch a movie that's funny, sit with your friend and laugh. These are actually things to do to improve your health, right? Emotionally, I want to reconcile with that person. It's really stressing me out. Yeah? I want to talk to a professional. I want to do whatever it is that I need to emotionally. Physically, I would like to improve my nutrition in this way. I would like to improve my exercise in this way. I would like to love my body how it is. How do I do that? Right? So you're going to write down in those 4 corners these different aspects of your experience. Disregard that bottom part. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your attentiveness and your willingness to listen. I hope that you learned something today. And congratulations on this journey that you're taking and that you're a part of. It's a real thing that's happening in your life, and really take hold of it. Really sense that this means something about you, that you would do this. It's not just something you signed up for. Your whole being actively worked for you to sign up. And so it means something about who you are and what you want and the life that you want to experience. And so congratulations about that. I don't know if we have any time for questions.
Yes. Can we, before we open for questions, can we please give Akua a round of applause and give her our thanks for sharing such wonderful information. Thank you.